Okay, sorry about that, folks. Just adjusting the camera there. But this is sort of a redo of a unboxing of a device I bought at my job recently. This device is the RF Modulator Video Converter with S-Video. Now, when I did my original video yesterday, last night, I kind of thought to myself that this could be the answer that you need to play your RF your game systems with RF connections through audio video, but that's not the case. Well, it's sort of the case, but not really. What I mean is, what this allows you to do is, if you have some of these older TVs, and it kind of shows you exactly what I'm talking about right there. You have some of these older TVs that they might have audio video on the back of them, or they might just have a coax cable and that's about it. I know my mom has one in her room that has coax cable. I know this one in the back in the rec room here has both audio video, has 3 audio video ports for 3 different systems, but then it doesn't have anything in the front. So basically that's where this little device comes into play, because what this allows you to do is it allows you to connect this, just like, let's say you're connecting an RF connection, or an RF connection of the original well, not the original, but of the top loader NES, or even the optional loading, not optional loading, but the optional video connection on the Super NES, and even with the Turbo Graphics, and yes, even the Sega Dreamcast. If you have those kind of RF connections that go with them, you kind of understand exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, you have to connect the cable into one end and then connect the other end into the TV, so that way you can switch back and forth. Now, I'm not sure if this will work on HD TVs. I have not tested it yet. Because honestly, with HD TVs, smart TVs, if you will, I mean, you have a remote. Yes, it does have the numbers of the channels on there. But again, I don't know if it'll work on there or not. You see, that's the one problem. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you watching this have bought something like this already and have tried that and have realized it's not going to work on that. Primarily what this is, and even though you might say, well, why would they, or you might ask, well, why are they bringing it out now? Why bring this out now? Because there's a lot of people. This is basically more of how do I put this? More of an inexpensive way for people that can have all these HD or more up-to-date sets that have composite cable or component cables or HDMI or any of that. This allows them to play their games, or play their DVDs, or hook up their cameras, or or whatever. It allows them to do just that and not have to worry about, do I have anything extra? Basically, going back to what I was talking about, and let me open this up for a second, I'll show you, because I tried it out last night. This was the box that had the power connection, and I wrapped it all together. It's still kind of connected, but like I said, this contained the power adapter, which is right there. But basically what this is, when you look at it, and let me make sure I'm showing it to you. When you look at it, it's basically set up the same way as, like I said, an RF connector is set up for your original Nintendo or your top-loaded Nintendo, or the optional video output for the SNES or the Dreamcast or TurboGrafx, and even the Sega Genesis. Because even up to about, because what's surprising is, I don't think the Dreamcast had this, but what's surprising, I mean not the Dreamcast, but I'm not sure the PlayStation 1 had this, I have to check it. But what's surprising is the Dreamcast had it, the TurboGrafx had it, the NES had the option, the Super Nintendo that is, the SNES, and I think the Sega Genesis did. All versions, I believe, had the option of either audio video as an output or RF as an output. And basically that's what this is set up as. This is set up as basically just kind of like that RF output you would have for your video game system in the past. And I think even the kind of RF outputs that they gave you with your cable systems and such, when those first came out as well, your cable boxes and stuff, when those first came out. Now the only difference though is, the only difference is you already have a connect. Now the only difference is you have the audio video, which is right here, and you already have, just like a regular RF connector, you have your coax cable that goes to your TV. You connect this to the back of your TV already set up, and as you can tell, it's pretty lengthy. When you unwind it, it looks pretty lengthy. It's like got a decent length on it. And then on the back, of course, you have your antenna in option. This is basically where you connect, like, let's say, your cable to your main cable outlet to this. Now, I've read online about similar devices, basically by different brands, and how basically that they're smart enough to know exactly when to switch over to a channel back to regular television. And if that's the case, then that's pretty cool. But again, I don't know if this will work on HD TV. I don't think it will. I can look it up, and you have the option of looking it up, maybe finding out for yourself if perhaps it works on HD TV, and if it does, that pretty much would solve your problem, if it does, to play audio video on your HD TV, unless you already have both the composite and component options of audio video on your HD TV. Mine only has component, which I'm pretty cool with right now, because at least I can still use my DVD recorder, and I do know that they do have component cables for the Xbox, and I'm pretty sure they have components for the PlayStation 2 component cables, if you catch my drift. I have to look into that. But yeah, basically what this does is it gives you that extra outlet to connect your audio video systems. And let's say if you've already used up all your audio videos and you don't have, let's say, a switcher, this allows you to kind of have that option to do just that. Now, it's crazy as this might sound, if you do have a switcher, I do recommend using that. Here's why. Because, and I learned this already when I would use the switcher on with my old TV. Basically what the switcher will allow you to do is to go from one source to the other. So if you have a switcher, whether it's a 5 or 6 switcher, 5 a 5 or 6 or 4 switcher or 3 switcher, whatever it is, I would suggest using that. And what I would do is I would take your audio video source, which is right here, and connect it into, I believe the input of the system. And then what that should allow you to do, and maybe I'm wrong about it because like I said, I haven't tried it myself, it's just a thought right now, but what it should do is allow you to switch from audio video by using that channel 3 or channel 4 option that it gives you. And as you can tell, it does give you the option, if I can find it, of switching between channel 3, which is right here, channel 4, which is right here, and channel 3. It does give you that option. I don't know if you can see that real well. Let me check a little bit. Yeah, but it does give you that option to go from channel 3 to channel 4. Now last night I tried to probably use it to see if maybe it would do exactly what I would hope it would do. Unfortunately, it did not. It did not allow me to just do audio video with with my NES or anything like that. So that was out of the question. Now, unless I did something wrong, I don't think so. But it did not allow me to do it because what's funny is I took the coax cable on the RF connection of the top loader, connected it to the back here, and then did this right here. So what I did is I connected this to the back here, like I said, of the Nintendo RF, and then I took the coax cable of the Nintendo RF, connected to the back here, then tried to see if maybe that would work, and apparently it did not. But again, this is nice to have around, especially if you have an additional audio video source you want to use. But unfortunately, like I said, if you don't have a switcher and all your audio video ports are used up, then this is the best option to go with. It really is. Now, another thing that's beneficial about this too, believe it or not, is this can actually work with another device if you work it out correctly. If I can find it and put it in here somewhere. Here it is. But when you think about it, you can actually also use it with this, because like I said, what this does is allows you to connect it to the back of your coax cable on your older TVs, and through audio video, which is right here. Once you connect the audio video to the back of it and to whatever source it goes to, you should be able to, as described, play your DVDs, DVD players, or your DVD players or your video games that don't have the RF video source anymore. You'll be able to play them courtesy of this. If you don't, like I said, if you don't have any more audio video outputs or ports on your TV left and they're all used up, and if you don't have a switcher, that's the best direction to go. Now, another thing that's pretty interesting about this too is when one thinks about it, is you can actually use this once it's all hooked up, like once you have this all connected, to your coax cable, the RF thing the RF modulator connected. What's interesting about this is you can actually take something like this, which is the mini HDMI2AV output, and you can actually connect that to the back, and then all you'd have to do is have an HDMI, or at least buy an HDMI connection cable, and you should be able to, just by this connection alone, be able to play Blu-ray players and even PS4s or Xbox Ones, anything that's HDMI only, anything that's HDMI cable only. With this and this, you should be able to make it happen. So, in other words, like I said, if you just have a regular connection, if you will, like I said, if you just have a regular TV, let's say everybody has a game room for the kids and all that, and you know, and they have a Wii U or something, or they have a PS4 in there, or whatever device might just be HDMI only. By using this, that would allow you to, like I said, as it's instructed, allow you to play your DVD players or your audio or your video game systems that are audio video only through the RF option on your older TV. And again, I don't know if it works on HD TV. I haven't checked it yet. But once you do that, once you have that option there, like I was saying, it should be also capable of allowing you to do the same with this. So in other words, like I said, if you're not in the mood to play those games, or if you have everything hooked up but you still want to watch Blu-rays, and let's say you buy an additional Blu-ray player, but you want to watch Blu-rays on it, having this and this should be able to work. So in a sense, in the long run, this is a good option, a good thing to have around just in case, because like I say, if you don't have a switcher, this is the best thing to have. This is the next best thing to have here, because this way you would be, just like I said, just be like sort of the old days, the nostalgic days of connecting an RF modular or RF connector to the back of your TV when you would be hooking up the NES or the Super Nintendo or stuff like that. But in addition, if you want Blu-ray, you want to finally have Blu-ray, or even let's say Roku or something like that, then this right here is an additional option as well, because then you'd be able to play all of that on one older TV. So in other words, if you have a TV similar to this in a sense, or at least like I said, one that has all its audio video cables and stuff used up, then you know, something like the RF Modulator video converter with S-Video is the option to go with. And then on top of that, if you get something like the mini HDMI2AV video converter, you should be able to also play a PS4, an Xbox One, and even Blu-ray systems on your old TV, on your old television, or at least through that RF outlet that you have your video converter, your RF modulator video converter connected to. So I do recommend getting this. It's around 20 bucks, or if not lesser than that, depending on where you get it. So I highly recommend getting it, especially if you don't have a switcher and all your audio video ports on your TV are used up or being used, or you don't have any at all, and you have that older TV that you still feel you can get some life out of. So I do recommend getting it, and that's all I'm going to say, folks. So